Welcome to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman. Thank you for tuning in this episode of The Real, taking time out of your day to come watch this episode. I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe for me. I'd really appreciate that as well. That's the best way you can support this channel and help me grow my content and grow this channel to where I'd like it to be. Everybody hit the like button for me on the way in on this video today. That also helps promote this video more in the algorithms, helps grow this channel more as well. Please share this content. I would really appreciate that. My guests would as well. If you would please share this episode with someone you know that maybe is interested in the topic we're talking about today. Please leave a comment below as well. We'd love to hear your guys' feedback. You can interact with myself and the guest on the panel and the live chat as well. Whatever we're talking about, just leave a comment there in the live chat. Pop in and say hello. We'll put it on the screen for you. And yeah, without further ado, let's get to the show. Welcome back to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman on this emergency podcast on Monday, February 3rd, 2025, as we're got some breaking news today. But welcome into The Real. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, and share. I'd really appreciate that. It really helps me grow this channel more. Just all you got to do is tap the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this content. This is going to be a great show today. As I'm ready for this, I'm going to crack open not a cold one. I don't drink, but I got me a liquid death here. I put it in some ice cold water, or a glass of ice here. Get it nice and cold and foamy because we're in for a good one today. Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. Man, that's good. But shout out to Liquid Death. If you want a sponsor, hit us up. But Myles Garrett has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. Am I surprised? No. Is anybody really surprised? I don't think you should. And so I'm going to get into my initial reaction today to this with Myles Garrett. And let's get into it because I'm opening up the hotlines here in a little bit. And we're going to have some people calling in today. So, yeah, let's get into it. So Myles Garrett, this morning, according to Ian Rappaport, it broke about 11 o'clock, I believe, just before 11. That Myles Garrett has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. And in this letter Myles Garrett has written, stating why he's requesting this trade, he takes a shot at Andrew Berea. And so I'm going to read the letter here. Here's a letter right here. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you have. And this is from Myles Garrett to Ian Rappaport. And it says, quote, "As a kid, dreaming of the NFL, all I focused on was the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl. And that goal fuels me today more than ever. My love for the community of Northeast Ohio and the incredible fan base of the Cleveland Browns has made this one of the toughest decisions of my life. These past 8 years have shaped me into the man I am today. While I've loved calling this city my home, my desire to win and compete at the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. The goal was never, this is the part right here that gets me. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It has always been to compete and win a Super Bowl. With that in mind, I have requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett, signed and written." So, Sharam John's already announced. Fire Barry now. This is a joke, man. Oh, I'm going to get into these guys here in a minute. You know I am Param John. I ain't messing around. But I don't trust him making the right picks at all. Fire him right now. Well, let's get to Andrew Berea. That's my first take on all this. When I first saw this today and I read this letter, the first thing I thought of was what it said right there in that one part where it says, the goal was to never go from Cleveland to Canton. If you remember Andrew Berea 2 weeks ago, in a statement to the media, I believe it was, or in the press conference, I think it was in a press conference about 3-4 weeks ago, when all the Myles stuff, because Myles came out after the season and said, I'll look elsewhere, but I don't feel like we're in the right position to win. I want to see what our plan is. They sat down with Myles, they talked about the plan. And, Andrew Berea said, we're not basically saying we're not trading Myles Garrett. And our goal has always been for him to finish his career here and to go from Cleveland to Canton. Clearly that rubbed Myles the wrong way. Because this stuff, he didn't just write this yesterday. This stuff is written days, a lot of times weeks in advance. And I know this from people that have done these stories in the media. Media members will even tell you this publicly, that do these kind of stories with athletes. The athlete usually will contact them and tell them, here, this is what I want to do. This is what my intentions are. I don't want to get out right now, but I want to write a letter. It's like when LeBron came back to Cleveland. Remember, he wrote that letter to Lee Jenkins. That letter was written days, weeks in advance. And Lee Jenkins talked about that on the Coward Show. So go, so it gives you some context of how this stuff works. This was written weeks in advance. And so clearly, I think when Andrew Berry has came out and said that, and then comes out last week and says, we're not trading Myles Garrett no matter what, basically, that Myles has taken some offense to that. I think Andrew Berry probably went about it the wrong way now that we look at it. Speaking for Myles, almost saying it's like a done deal. When Myles already came out publicly and said what he said, you kind of make Myles kind of look like a fool in a way. You're almost like you're trying to. At least that's how it reads off to me. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe you guys see a complete opposite. Let me know. Let's discuss it. But this, to me, that's the first thing that stood out to me was that the Cleveland to Canton comment. And this is another example of the Browns ending a relationship with a player, particularly a star player, on bad terms. This happened with Odell Beckham doesn't mean as much to the Browns as much to the Browns as Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's the greatest pass rusher in Cleveland Browns history. He's a superstar, star franchise, cornerstone piece. Has meant a lot to the city. Defensive player of the year, and Odell's never the player Myles was. But the Browns didn't end things well with Odell. They didn't end things well with Jarvis Landry. They didn't end things well with Baker Mayfield. The list goes on. People that they signed and brought in, the relationships did not end well. That's an indictment on the front office. That's an indictment on ownership. It's an indictment on Andrew Berry. And I have to be honest, and I'm going to leave Stefanski out of this for now, because I've seen more defense from the players to Andrew Berry in respect than anybody else in the organization. And so at the end of the day, though, the one making the decision is Andrew Berry, Paul DeBedesta, who I'm going to get into in a minute again, and ownership with J.W. Johnson, the son-in-law to Jimmy Haslam, and then Jimmy and D. Haslam, obviously, particularly Jimmy Haslam. So, but again, and not just the player side of it. I see Parent Johnny said, I would beg John Dorsey to come back. Jimmy, go to Detroit and lick his shoes, dummy. You dummy. John Dorsey's another example. Somebody who came in here, turned your roster around in one off season. You went from an 0-16 team to a team above 500. Clearly got a at least starting caliber quarterback in the NFL in Baker Mayfield. We see what he became and what he is now. And okay, he made a big trade with Odell. He made the wrong hire for Freddie Kitchens. I personally believe the reason why he hired Freddie Kitchens was because the other department, the analytics dream team department, led by Paul DeBedesta on the other side of the building, wanted somebody else. And I think John Dorsey was rubbed the wrong way by those people. And there was clearly a clash there. But in the end, the guy who I think had more football pedigree, did more for the organization, turn your organization around in an offseason like that, who wanted Todd Haley as his head coach at the time, if I remember, you ran him out for the guy who ran Operation Stockpile. I mean, really? Paul DeBedesta has outlasted, since the time he's been here in 2016, I pointed this out on my show, Paul DeBedesta is the one who's outlasted everybody since 2016. When he came here in 2016, it was a new era of the Cleveland Browns. And Jimmy Haslam went up there and said, we're going to do it a different way. We're going to tank, basically is what he said. We're going to Operation Stockpile picks. And Paul DeBedesta and Sashi Brown and that whole analytics dream team. And they've just carried it on all the way till today. And look where it's got you. In the last almost 10 years now of this plan, 9 years into this plan, you've made 2 playoff appearances where you lost to a Chad Henne Kansas City Chiefs team because you couldn't cover Chad Henne running up the middle for 13 yards. And then you go up against a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach in the Texans in a game you were favored in with Joe Flacco at Super Bowl, and you get absolutely waxed 45-14. And then let's not forget all the other seasons. Like, let's just go to this season: 3-13, absolute debacle. Worst trade in NFL history with Deshaun Watson. You gave him $230 million guaranteed. I mean, it's just all the losing seasons. I mean. And in one of the seasons you wasted with Myles Garrett's career and Nick Chubb because you got a guy that you knew was going to get suspended for most of the season. You wasted that season. And then Baker Mayfield, you come in, you draft this kid out of Oklahoma, number 1 overall, and you throw him out there to play when he's injured, and then you leave him out to dry and see you later. Never developed him properly, never put him in the right situation, fired his head coach first year you brought him in. All the turmoil with this organization and with this regime, this analytics dream team. And now here's the end of it. Here's the breaking point. You just lost Myles Garrett, your franchise pass rusher, one of the greatest pass rushers, probably going to go down one of the greatest of all time. First ballot Hall of Famer, Defensive Player of the Year. In the prime of his career, just came off a Defensive Player of the Year. Wants out, requests a trade. That's an indictment on San Diego. And I say San Diego in terms of Paul DePodesta, and this is what really has been running the Browns. These guys right here. And you guys have been following along with my channel. You know I've been talking about this all the way back in August. These guys right here, especially that dude on the left, is responsible for Myles Garrett leaving. And Andrew Berry, Andrew Berry just goes along with whatever. Andrew Berry's a guy that just does what he's told. He's really not running the show. This guy's running the show. He's responsible for Myles Garrett leaving the Browns today, or requesting a trade. He hasn't left yet. They haven't traded him yet, but he's out. He's gone. I don't know if Myles comes back from this. Especially when you're taking a shot at the GM, and you're written this weeks in advance. He gave you guys a warning, and I guess they didn't really. Whatever plan they put together in front of him was clearly not good enough. And so, you can blame it on these guys. These guys right here, the San Diego Browns, this whole regime, this whole little gimmick, this whole little thing they've been doing for the last 9 years. And you know what? People in the media don't ever talk about it, because a lot of people in the media, they do the same thing. They really don't know shit about football. They identify with these guys, and they never talk about it. How come nobody ever brings this guy up? How come nobody all year has brought up Paul DePodesta's contract? He's got 1 more year left on his contract, and Jimmy Haslam stood up there before the season talking about, yeah, we're gonna bring him back and re-sign him, y'all, and I don't even have to talk. Almost like he almost said it with an arrogance, like Paul's just some hot shot, we're gonna keep him around for the long run. And that's what these guys are. They're arrogant. They think you fans are dumb. They do. They think you're dumb. They think we're dumb. Because they sit up there with their smart ass comments, sitting there talking about he's going to go from Cleveland to Canton, and we're not trading Myles Garrett, it says Andrew Berry. And then you got these guys running around here acting like they're some savants, like they're just, these old football fuddy-duddies. What do they know? We're reinventing football. Look where that got you. And a pile of shit. This is worse than 0-16. The season they just had, and then to have Myles Garrett request a trade right after it, it's the worst we've been ever since we came back in '99. This is the lowest point. And it's because you handed over your franchise, Jimmy Haslam, to this guy. And he brought in his little brass and of people, who knows who he's brought in, and they've been running the show. And go back to when Andrew Berry got hired in 2020. You know who the other GM was that they were possibly going to hire? George Payton. You know who George Payton's leading right now? You know who he got to hire? Sean Payton and Bo Nix in Denver. How do they look right now compared to the Browns? A hell of a lot better, right? Would you agree to that in the comment? Looks a hell of a lot better to me. But you know why we didn't hire George Payton? Because according to Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports, and I played this on my show, and I'm going to pull it up again too. I'm going to go back to that show as I'm talking. But Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports said at the time on 92.3 The Fan, the reason why Andrew Berry got the job, because he was in the good graces of Paul DePodesta. That's who Paul wanted. Paul DePodesta, who's been a nobody in baseball other than a movie about analytics, hasn't won shit, never won a championship, and he's just going to walk into the sport of football, and all of a sudden he's some savant. And let's listen to this guy. That's why he got the job. That's why Andrew Berry got the job, because Paul DePodesta wanted him. And they could have had George Payton. It's a joke. And let me pull that up here. And by the way, the hotline is open now too. If you want to call into the show, that's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. That's all I could think of. I mean, this just happened. But call into the show right now, 216-532-5550. Give your take on the show on this breaking news today with Myles Garrett. Call in right now. But that's all I could think of today, guys. It's just this is the San Diego Browns. This is the result of going full analytical team. The Browns are the most analytical team in the league. Baker Mayfield goes to an organization in Tampa that has more stability. And oh, by the way, according to that same ESPN report, who's the most analytical team? Who's the least? You know who the least analytical team in the league is? Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're letting a franchise future first ballot Hall of Famer walk out the door because we want to go in with this plan that has been nothing but a disaster and clearly does not work. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. And I think I got that right here. Give me 1 second. This is when I just did this show recently. Oh, it's a video. That's why. Sorry, I was in the live section. But this is who was this. This is why Andrew Berry was hired right here because of this. And I'm gonna pull it up right now. Let me find it, guys. I'm on the fly. This just all broke today, obviously. So give me a little grace here as I'm trying to pull this up for you guys. But this was the real reason why Paul DePodesta was hired, or why Andrew Berry was hired. And I have it right here. This was from my show a month ago. This was December 12th, I believe it was. And so, as we're letting the hotline get filtered in here, I'm going to play this again real quick because I think it kind of gives context to who's been running the Browns and who's really behind all of it. And so, here is from my show back on. You can see here, this was December 12th, and it did pretty well. Got a good amount of views, and people learned a lot from this. So, here's from my show on December 12th. And this was from Charles Robinson of CBS, or I think it was Yahoo Sport. He's a prominent reporter. My mind's over the place. I got shit falling off. I mean, shit's going crazy in Cleveland today. But so here's this again. Why Paul DePodesta really, or why I keep saying Paul DePodesta, why Andrew Berry really got the job? Because he was in the good graces of Paul DePodesta. So here's Charles Robinson via 92.3 The Fan. Again, January 28th, 2020, right after they hired Andrew Berry.
Get into that. I want to ask you a question. Was he the guy for the job the whole time? And when you look back at the situation, was this his to win all the way through?
I will say I believe he was Paul DePodesta's guy the whole time. I think that, look, I think George Payton, when he came in, I think the interview in Minneapolis and then the one that happened in Berea, which was really, oddly enough, just sort of the same interview, but on a wider basis with more people. I think that he really did impress quite a few people in the building. And I do think that, look, would he have fit well with Kevin Stefanski? Absolutely. And I think Kevin would have been, more than happy to have George Payton in there. But I also believe that, there was Andrew had his backing in the building, and having the backing of Paul DePodesta made a huge difference for him in the long run. And, knowing that Jimmy was in his corner, and, Jimmy had been in his corner for years, including after he left the franchise, really, I think, was the key to Andrew ending up with this. And the thing with George is,
all right, so you hear there. So that's why Andrew Berry got the job. Because of this Paul DePodesta-led Cleveland Browns. Okay. And here's also when Paul DePodesta got the job. His vision that he laid out. And how involved is he? Well, I got it right here. It's from the same show. This is when Paul DePodesta got the job. This is why he got the job. Here he is right here. Again, January 22nd, 2022.
Just start from the beginning. Define analytics for everybody.
I think I probably have a very, very different definition than most. For me, analytics is just about trying to use information to help you make better decisions. And that information can come in very different forms. As I was telling people here a little while ago, when we time players in the 40-yard dash at the combine, that's a form of analytics, right? Or when we put together a game plan, or when we're trying to figure out what play to call on 3rd and 8, we use information on what the other team has historically done in those situations. That's all analytics in my mind. It's not always about numbers necessarily.
And how would you describe your role here as the chief strategy officer?
It's funny. Analytics is probably a very small piece of that, although that's what everyone's really focused on. I think that all great organizations, whether they're in sports or even outside of sports, they all do something that gives them a sustainable competitive advantage, some process, some system that just separates them from the pack. And that's really my job here, is to work with everybody, the head coach, the scouts, players, support staff, really everybody, to try to find out and create those processes and ultimately implement those processes that we think are going to give us that sustainable competitive advantage and make us a good team, hopefully for a long, long time.
Well, that plan really worked out well, did it? Yeah, not. And then here's the rest of the interview I put in there as well, because this is all prevalent today. This is why Myles Garrett is no longer going to be a Cleveland Brown, because of this shit right here.
That I felt like I had to do.
When you decided to come here, at the time you came here, really, you knew Jimmy and D.
Mm-hmm.
I know you knew Alex Shiner, and you knew Sashi, and you knew that you didn't have a head coach yet. There wasn't that traditional talent evaluator in place, and that it was going to be different. So what sold you about this opportunity in meeting with those people? Because I know at the end of the day, it is about who you work with and how that leads to success.
I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, for me, certainly, as I mentioned before, Cleveland and the Browns was a big draw, but my eyes were open in terms of the people, because at the end of the day, look, wins and losses aside, which is what we're all here for, it is about the people you work with on a daily basis and whether or not they inspire you and support you and everything else. And I've been to enough places to know what it looks like and maybe what it doesn't look like, in the wrong spot. And when I met Alec and Sashi and Jimmy and Dee, I just had a great feeling about everybody. There was a real sense of collaboration. There was a real sense that they just wanted to get this right, and they didn't care about who was going to get credit or exactly how we were going to do it, but they really, really wanted to get it right. And I just felt like, geez, this could be really fun to be a part of.
Oh yeah, really fun. I mean, you sold them on a pile of shit, a fool's gold plan. I mean, it's just been absolute just beauty since he's been here. 0-16, 1-15, fucking 3-13 this year. It's just been absolutely wonderful. Great job, Paul DiPodesta. Oh, it's just been so collaborative. You found 2 dummy owners that you can convince and hoodwink. Now, I don't mean they're dummies, but I'm saying they got hoodwinked. This guy hoodwinked the ownership badly. And where did it lead you? To now, to where we are today. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh, and he was involved in a lot of drafts, He was involved in a lot of them. Just like when we took the great Jed Wills, 10th overall. Who was the first one out there? Oh, this guy. They drafted him. Man, you see on the bottom ticket of the first rounds, I don't think it was even done yet before this guy came out. He's the first guy out there talking after they draft Jedrick Wills. So he's pretty involved in this draft pick. Here's what he had to say.
About what we were able to do, tonight in the first round. When I talked to all of you last week, we talked about, being a team that's really focused on best player available. And I think we ended up in a really fortunate spot tonight where best player available on our board happened to be a position of real need, on our team. So that doesn't happen every year, but we were fortunate that was the case. And, we're thrilled to get Jedrick on our team. We went through a lot of different scenarios over the course of the past week and really tried to prepare for the worst. So we didn't.
I mean, just look at that football savant just sitting there. I mean, this guy, he's going to get you where you need to be. I mean, when Myles Garrett walks in the room in that meeting, he says, wow, look at that stud over there. This man. I mean, look at him. He just knows football. He knows more than me. He knows more than Kevin Stefanski. Hell, he might outdo Bill Belichick. Mike Vrabel, fuck you, get out of here. We don't need to keep you around, right? John Dorsey, we don't need to keep you around. You don't know more than this guy right here. I mean, just look at him. He knows about football more than you.
Necessarily anticipate that we were going to have any of them to choose from. We had a lot of different scenarios in mind where, that they might not be there, but we also thought there was a real chance that at least one or two of them could be there. We were pleasantly surprised that three were there, but we had run through so many scenarios. We definitely thought that this was at least a reasonable likelihood that we'd have a shot at one of the guys we really like. The top one on our board, so that was a pleasant surprise. But that we'd have a shot at one of the guys we really like. We didn't necessarily know that we'd have a shot at the top one on our board, so that was a pleasant surprise.
So he was the top guy on their board. Remind you, he was the top guy on the board. That's what I'm gonna close up with today. This is the cherry on top. So he was the top guy on their board, right? Okay. So who was still available? How about Tristan Wirfs? Let's just focus on him. Tristan Wirfs was also a tackle that the Browns could have used. Remember, Jedrick Wills played right tackle in college. Let's make sure Mike's on. Jedrick Wills played right tackle in college. So did Tristan Wirfs. And Tristan Wirfs played at the University of Iowa, who develops pretty good offensive linemen usually. If you know that background, look into that. Their history with offensive linemen, pretty good. So was Alabama. But Tristan Wirfs was available. Tristan Wirfs, since that draft night, who the Bucs took, this year alone in 2024 is, and you go to PFF, you look this up for all the people that love analytics, first in sacks allowed this year, 0 sacks allowed in 2024. Since 2020, he's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He was the AP first and second team. He was also on the first and second team for the year in Pro PFF, I think 3 or 4 times, first or second team either year. That's the guy they passed on. They passed on the Pro Bowler who helped win them a Super Bowl. Also, as a rookie, protected Tom Brady as a rookie, and they won a Super Bowl that year. Is still balling to this day and looks to be a future Hall of Famer if he keeps this up, and has allowed 0 sacks this year in the NFL. With a team that has lost Mike Evans, lost Chris Godwin, has had so many injuries and they've been depleted, yet they're 7-6. And yes, they play in a weak division, but they're still number 1 in their division right now. And Baker Mayfield, who the Browns, remember Hugh Jackson said that when he got fired, if the Browns surround Baker Mayfield and do everything right, he'll be successful. Did the Browns do that? No, they didn't. And they didn't do it with Myles Garrett either. And that's why we are where we are. You don't believe me? The great Steve Young warned you at the time, too, the day they hired this guy. The great Steve Young gave everybody a warning about all this. And I think what Steve Young said back then has come to fruition today about what the negatives of it could be and how it could go really bad and how you can really detonate your whole franchise. Here's what Steve Young said back then.
His first love is football. And I think that if you're a really bright person, you're going to succeed in things that you do. I don't think it's a bad hire. What's your take?
It's so funny. It's so ancestral, the leagues like baseball is, in NFL. And that's why we see coaches that have shown success keep coming back. You know what I mean? Because there's just not very many that people really believe in. And so it's just, you find yourselves retreading things because I think a lot of, teams don't think outside the box. They're not willing to make, take the big chance. But I don't think it's that hard. I think really smart, guys that have managed before, that understand the basics, get a lot. Like, to me, I'm fine with that as long as you have some great football people around him that can say to him, here's the ones that we want, here's the guys that we don't want, and then he can now start to put the team together. The problem is there's no way he can know himself, because you have to have a long-term history. You can't make money as an adult without playing as a kid. I mean, I know I'm wrong. I'm Akeem Olajuwon. I said that a few weeks ago. I'm saying, well, what about Akeem Olajuwon? I'm like, well, if you're 7 feet and you're really athletic, I think you probably could. But other than that, and so to me, being in another, sport is a risk. But as long as the football guys, the things he's good at, he's going to be good at with the Browns. The things he's been good at before, he'll be good at again, except for don't tell me that he's now going to understand how to pick the football guy, to know which guy can play. Now, personalities in a locker room, I think locker rooms are similar. Baseball needs leadership. Football needs leadership. Understanding those dynamics of getting guys in the locker room that matter. I think that can translate. I could pick a baseball player who could be great in the locker room. I'd be around him. I know that guy. So that part works. But the football part, don't tell me you're going to go pick football players.
And
that doesn't make it.
And I don't know how much you follow the analytics of other sports, but I think one of the reasons why it doesn't seem to really translate to football is for the reasons that you said. The emotions, the leadership, the policing the locker room. It just seems like baseball. I can plug in. I need a guy with a better on-base percentage. We'll get this guy. I need a guy with a better earn run average. I'll get this guy. Is that why football maybe isn't as stat-driven as the other sports are?
Well, there's not much, very much so. In fact, the ultimate challenge is to try to figure out the algorithms for quarterbacks, like who can actually play the sport, who can actually be good at this, and it goes on. That's the hardest one. But there's no easy ones. There's no right tackle that comes out of Clemson that's going to be the can't miss guy that you really know. You're not really sure. Where baseball has the farm system, and you really have a sense of, who's and the analytics really do prove out. Like this guy can't hit left-handed pitching, but he can pull the ball. Like there's all kinds of things that actually fit. Football, it really is. It's an unnatural sport. Like nobody plays it because it's like, oh yeah, I can't wait to put on the pads and go ram somebody. You have to have there's a purpose, and it comes out of the locker room. And who do you play for, and why? And how am I incented week to week, day to day, to go to work and actually ram other people because of I believe in the Giants, or I believe in Tom Coughlin, I believe in the Mariners, or I believe that in my teammates. I believe, and so it's all those things. That baseball, it is a more plug and play. Like a guy's great pitcher in Toronto, he's a great pitcher in Texas. There's some challenges there in the locker room. That's why some of the great teams that figure that out are. But I agree with you, Don. It is completely different in how you put teams together. You can't just plug it.
Steve Young nailed it right on the head. Hit the nail right on the head. I mean, and all the negatives he said there. And he said there, you're taking a risk with this. It's a big risk. And the risk has backfired greatly. And they had everything set up for them to succeed and to get this done, and it turned out to be an absolute failure. And it all went down the drains. And today was the cherry on top. It was the last domino to fall. And where do they go from here? I don't know. I mean, I hear people today saying like, well, it's gonna be a rebuild now. You could take a quarterback and all this, but here's my whole thing. You can take a quarterback at 2. You could take a quarterback next year. You could trade Myles, get assets. Take Abdul Carter, who's not Myles Garrett, but he's good, but he ain't Myles Garrett. You could take Abdul Carter and let's go get Arch Manning next year and blah, blah, blah. Same problem's going to happen, right? The same problem's going to happen. It reminds me when I had a landscaping company and when I was in high school and college. And I planted grass a lot of times. I would do like aerations and fall seeding and all that stuff. Let me look right here. Oh, sorry. Did fall seeding and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times if the soil was bad, you couldn't grow the seed. And that's what the Browns are. They have bad soil in their foundation. You can't grow seeds here. And so until we address that, it don't matter who we take it to. It don't matter who we take it whatever pick. Because it don't matter. It's all going to go down to the waste. We're just in a bad cycle. It don't matter. We have bad soil. And so until the Browns fix that and change that, I don't expect them to who cares if they take a quarterback at 2? Who cares if they take Abdul Carter and everybody's going to oversell it like it's the greatest thing ever? You have bad soil. Until you fix that, nothing else matters. And that's my take. So, I don't know, man. If anybody wants to call in right now before I go off. So, if you want to call in right now, 216-522-5550. Feel free to call in the hotline. But I don't know. That's all I got on this, man. I don't know what else. I'm not surprised by this. Not surprised at all. And they created this. It's their fault. And good for Myles. Good for Myles for standing up for himself and not put up with this shit anymore. Period. Period. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? He said fans need to stop going to games. Coney Gray said we should take Will Howard. Does Jimmy love to lose or something? Like, I don't understand it. Sell the team. Man, the NFL is not your cup of tea, dude. Go buy the Bucks fully. Yeah, he might I don't know. It might be a good idea for him, Paramjai. He might have to listen to you. Let's wake up the sleeping giant. He was doing that until Jimmy fired him. Yeah, talking about John Dorsey. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Here we are now. An absolute shit show. Well, you know, if you're looking for some more content, though, feel free to check out the other shows here on the Real Media, like The Fix. We also got oh, my bad. We also got the Professional Fan as well with Mike Antonius up here at the Real Media. Here's take a sneak peek of that. So yeah, that's what we got going on over here at the Real Media. So come check us out, like, subscribe, and share if you're interested in this content. And we got the sports betting show at The Fix, and then Mike's got the in-depth draft analysis and all things of that. So get ready for that, as we're 80 days away from the draft now. So, but man, what a tough day to be a Browns fan. It just gets worse and worse and worse being a Browns fan. That's for sure. So. Again, if you didn't see Miles's letter, here's a letter he wrote. I'm not going to read it again, but clearly there takes a shot at Andrew Berea when he says, my goal is never to go from Cleveland to Canton. And so Myles was clearly writing this for a while. And so this has been in his mind for a while. I think he's known what he's going to be doing for a while. And today was it. So it's a wild day and a sad day for the Browns, because I mean, Myles meant so much to this city. He's a great pass rusher, a future Hall of Famer, and meant so much to the city. It was you hit on a great draft pick there, obviously, at a franchise cornerstone piece, and now he wants gone. He's out. And so it's unfortunate, very unfortunate. But we got a caller in the show right now. I think Austin's calling in the show. Let's see. Austin, you're on the Real. What's up, man?
Dude, talk about Myles Garrett.
What's your thoughts on all this with Myles, dude? What do you think about all this?
I'm so happy.
You're happy?
Let that man go get a ring.
Oh, so you're happy for him that he stuck it to the organization?
Well, it's the same way I felt about Joe Thomas back in the day. Should have traded him to Denver when they had the chance with Peyton Manning. He could have got his ring. Same way I feel about Myles Garrett. Man deserves a ring. Man doesn't deserve to be miserable like me.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with that. Where do you think they go from here? You heard what I just said. I don't see how they. Until you fix the problem, the soil's so bad here. Everybody wants to talk about Abdul Carter and
sell the team.
Sell the team. Well, weren't you a season ticket holder, Austin?
I was. Key word was a
right.
Season ticket holder.
Well, I want to bring that. How long were you a season ticket holder for?
5-6 years.
5-6 years. And when did you stop? When did you renew your tickets?
This year. Like this upcoming season. I was one all last season, and I called this season. I told him I'm going to trade him into a Ravens ticket.
Wow. So you hear that, Browns brass? We got somebody who was a 5-6 year season ticket holder
and he's going to root for the Ravens now. That's how bad it is in Cleveland.
I don't think I'm going to watch football next year.
Wow.
I probably won't. And plus, I'm actually not even mad because golf season's kicking off, so now I can go back to something I actually enjoy.
Yeah, I know you like being out there in the greens.
Yeah, how about you start a nice golf segment for me? Something that doesn't make me angry.
Oh yeah,
golf makes me angry too.
You want to? We'll do your own little golf show. We can do that.
I'll do that. Golf makes me happy, except when I'm playing with your father.
Yeah, yeah, the hitting geese. Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah. Talk about a miserable time.
Yeah, yeah, but I appreciate you calling in, man. But that's crazy. You were a 5-6 year season ticket holder. Now you're done with the Browns for good.
Well, I don't think they're even going to trade him.
Really? So what do you think? What do you think's going to happen here?
I think they're just going to keep him. I just don't see it. I don't see a world where Andrew Berry trades him unless Andrew Berry finesses a team. And if they're going to trade him, the only thing they're going to get, because Myles Garrett wants to go to a contending team, so they have to trade him for a late first-round pick to a contending team. So now you got to get a late first-round pick, an additional second-round pick, and maybe a first-round pick next year.
Yeah, see, I don't know, man. I think they got to, because if you don't trade him, he's probably just going to say, I'm not going to play. I'm just going to sit out. Now you're going to have two guys under contract that are going to play.
I don't think Myles Garrett sits out. I don't think he has it. That man, he actually likes football. He doesn't play he doesn't play for the paycheck.
I agree with you. I think Myles loves the game. My only thing with Myles, though, is I would add to that is, you know who his clientele is. He's a clutch client. We know how they roll. They get shit done when they want it done. And, you know, I
mean, I agree, but he loves the game. I don't see a world. And he appreciates the Cleveland aspect and the fans.
Right.
I don't think he would do it to the fans to leave a taste in the mouth, but I think he would continue to force their hand throughout the season if they don't trade him. But right now is the only time to trade him. Right now is your best time to trade him. Right, because you go into the next season, he gets injured. Now you lost draft capital. If you trade him now, you got your top 5. You got your second overall pick.
Yep.
Now, then you can trade for a late first round pick. Right, so now you got 2 first rounders. Then you can trade for an additional second. You know, then you can get maybe an additional second round pick, an early second rounder, and then maybe a first rounder for next year, maybe a second rounder, or it might as far as fall as the third rounder for the following year.
Yeah,
he's getting older.
He is. He's 29. He's in his prime, but you definitely got. I think you definitely got to try to move him now to get what you can. I mean, number one, you can't have this. You can't have this in your locker room, and you know, I think obviously he wants out. I think other players are gonna follow suit and stuff. So, but hey, man, I appreciate you calling. I got somebody else calling. You got anything you want to finish up here? You want anything else you want to add?
Send him to Detroit.
Detroit?
That's where I'd like to see him.
All right. I appreciate you calling in.
Have a good one.
Let's see. Appreciate you, brother. Who we get?
From.
Oh, DB, call back, DB. But no, I appreciate Austin calling in. He made some good points. I mean, I think he's right. You know, you're only going to be trading to a contending team, so you're probably getting a low end pick. And but that's pretty astonishing there, though, to hear somebody who's a 5-6 year season ticket holder, they're done. They're not coming back. They're not renewing their tickets. They are done. That's bad. And so let me call this gentleman back. Well, the hotline is now open. DB, you're live on the reel. What's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on the show.
I wish I could have you on for better circumstances, but
Call from.
Oh, wait. Hold on. You there?
You got me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Yeah, you got me.
Well, what's your thoughts on all this, DB? What do you think about all this?
Well, you know, I thought about when the Mavericks traded Luka and people were saying, all right, the Deshaun Watson trade is no longer the worst trade in sports. And the Browns just couldn't let it last for more than 2 days. They had to go and have this news break out with Myles Garrett, and now we're back to being the worst organization in sports. So, I mean, you saw it coming, Myles. I don't blame Myles for wanting the trade, but it just speaks to the front office of the Browns organization.
Yeah, what do you think of his comments when he took a shot at AB saying, my goal wasn't to go from Cleveland to Canton?
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant on Myles' part. You know, I think it's absolutely hilarious. I don't know how Barry or DePodesta still have their jobs. Haslam should be selling the team by now, but he's just completely destroyed a really good roster over the last several years. You think of the guys we let go. We let go of Baker. He's balling in Tampa. We bring in Joe Flacco late. He did a pretty good job. We let him go, and now Myles Garrett wants out. So it's just these great players we're letting walk out the door for nothing.
Yeah, one take I've got from this too. I wonder when they sat down and gave him his plan. Remember, he said he wanted to see what our plan they gave him. I wonder if their plan was a rookie quarterback in the future, because I think if my Myles, I'm probably thinking, I don't know if I want to go through another rookie quarterback experiment again. So, I mean, do you think this maybe increases the chances they take Shedeur too, or do you think it decreases it?
I don't know. I really don't, because I think a rookie quarterback hurts Barry's chances of keeping his job. The Browns have to have a good year, or you would think Stefanski and Barry are out. I just can't imagine them, having another bad year and keeping their job. So you would think they would go out and get a veteran quarterback for the short term and maybe develop a rookie quarterback long term. But I don't know. Myles Garrett, he's tied to the city, minority owner for the Cavs, and I bet you he doesn't want to leave, but, just the incompetence of the Browns organization has kind of pushed them to this point. So it's tough. It's tough being a fan, and, I see Marasco saying go Ravens, but
yeah, you see my dad now saying yeah, Jersey calls DB the delusional fan.
Hey, he can say all names he wants. I would say most Browns fans agree with what I have to say, and it's just unfortunate with what Myles Garrett has been put into in this organization.
Yeah, where do you think the trade they get for him? What do you think they'll get? Where do you think they'll trade him to?
Well,
what would you like as a fan? What would you like to see?
As a fan, I would obviously like Myles Garrett to stay on the team, but I understand him going elsewhere. Because he requested a trade doesn't necessarily mean we'll trade him. You look at Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk both requested trades from the 49ers, and they kept them on their team. But if we do trade him, you would like 2, maybe 3 first-round picks. If we trade him, we're admitting we're going into a full rebuild mode. So it's not one of the things I want to do, but you got to get at least 2 or 3 first-round picks for him. For him, I would say, I hope he goes to a contender like Detroit or even Buffalo or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's where it's going to be heading. What do you think they do? Before I get you out of here, what do you think they do at number 2 now? Where do you like to see them go? Do you want to see them go Abdul Carter? Assuming you're trading Myles, where do you like to see them go?
I'd rather have them just trade down and just get as much draft picks as you can. I don't really see the value at 2, especially if you take a quarterback like Ward or Sanders. I just think it's better to trade down at this point, even if you have to trade Myles, and just rack up as many first rounders as you can. This team is, let's be honest, this team is not going to compete for the playoffs anytime soon. Let alone even challenge teams like the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. So we're back to square one at this point, and it's unfortunate for Browns fans to go through.
Yeah, and just breaking news just came out from Adam Schefter, everybody. Adam Schefter says Cleveland is not interested in trading Myles Garrett despite his request. It says the Browns are, quote, dug in. So what's your reaction to that? From latest from Adam Schefter, who just reported that. Breaking news just now, saying that the Browns are not going to trade. They're not interested in trading him, and despite his request, and they are, quote, dug in.
Myles knew what he was doing. He probably saw this coming, that the Browns were not going to want to trade him. So, it just goes back to how dysfunctional this organization is. I figured Barry probably doesn't want to trade him, but maybe they can throw money his way and keep Myles here. But I don't think Myles wants that. He wants to compete for a Super Bowl. And, we'll see what Myles does in the off season and start of the regular season. But he's probably. I mean, he could sit out some games if he really wants to push this. If he really wants out of Cleveland, it could get ugly real soon.
Yeah, I hope not. But well, D, I appreciate you calling in. I got some other callers I got to get to here, so I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. Love the show. Thanks for your time.
Yep. But yeah, I think DB makes some good points there. And could this all be a money thing? Could Myles just be trying to push the button to get more money? I don't think Myles has to do that to get more money. I mean, if I'm Myles Garrett, all I got to do is say, hey, you guys just gave Deshaun Watson $230 million fully guaranteed. That's all he has to bring up. I don't think Myles needs to ponder or do this for more money. I know David the Joke did it. And also, Myles wouldn't be writing this whole letter. Again, this letter takes weeks in advance. I mean, this is prepped. Like, this is not something he just wrote yesterday or over the weekend. This is something that gets orchestrated for a little bit between he and the I guess it was Ian Rappaport, at least a week. I mean, at least a week. So, and Andrew Berry's comment there, the little dig he takes at Andrew Berry about Cleveland to Canton, that's not my goal. Andrew Berry said that, I believe, 2-3 weeks ago at least. So this has been in motion for a while for Myles. He's known what he's going to be doing. Again, the call into the show right now, give your take, 216-532-5550. Again, 216-532-5550. We've already had 2 callers. The request lines are open.
The request lines are now open. KGFJ Soul Radio.
That's right. So call in right now if you want to give your take on this. Your chance to come in and rant. If you want to call in and rant and give your take about Myles. Big day today in Cleveland sports. And that was the point I brought up too. I meant to make earlier was, I wonder what their plan was to Myles. Did they sit down and tell Myles like, we're going to take a rookie quarterback? Because I wonder. That was my thought about all this today. When I was thinking about this. Is Myles requesting a trade because he doesn't want to go through that cycle again of a rookie quarterback? He'd rather than go out trying to get a veteran, maybe like a Kirk Cousins or whoever he thinks. I don't know who he wants, or what his plan would be. But I'm curious what Myles' perspective was about it. But could that be? Could this really be a sign that Shedeur Sanders is a real possibility, number 2? That Myles doesn't want to go through another cycle again of a rookie quarterback? Possibly. That's a thought I had today. Clearly, whatever plan they put in front of his face was not the move. And earlier, I went off earlier. My whole thing earlier was about showing who I think is really responsible for all this. And like I said, I think it's Paulie Podesta and more Jimmy Haslam ownership. And I think Andrew Berry is more just kind of like been doing what he's like the puppet on the string from them. That's why I brought up earlier, had to and showed you guys again why Andrew Berry really got the job. And so, because he was in the good graces of Paulie Podesta. And so there's a lot to unpack here. And, one thing I brought up to Austin too, Myles Garrett probably would play, but I don't think he would. I mean, I get what Austin was saying. I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 on it. Part of me says, yeah, I think Myles would respect the game and play, respect the fans and owe it to the fans. But what more does he owe to the fans and to the organization? Nothing. Does he really need to go out there and risk an injury? Especially when he's a Clutch client. I think Clutch does a really good job of controlling the narrative and dictating where they want their clients to get what they want. You know what I mean? Which is their job. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or good or bad. It's just that's Rich Paul's job. So he's doing his job. He just does it a different way than probably we've seen in the history of sports. And so, I'm really curious to see how this all unfolds. And then to have the breaking news here from Adam Schefter about how they're not going to request his trade, I think that's very interesting as well. And so we got another caller in the house. Jersey's calling in. And so, Jersey, you there? Welcome into the Real.
I'm getting tired of this shit.
Tired of it?
Tired of it. Absolutely tired of it. And for Myles Garrett, I hope he gets the hell out of this dump.
What's your reaction to all this? I mean, I know you're probably not surprised, right?
Oh, I'm not surprised at all. I'd be surprised if it went the other way.
So you don't think Myles is pondering here, like some people think?
No.
Yeah, I don't think. What do you think of the Brown? The breaking news just came out from Adam Schefter saying that the Browns are not going to basically follow through with his request.
Well, that just shows how stupid that front office is. I mean, number one, the guys earn the right to request a trade, and they're never going to win that battle. They're never going to win that battle against him. It just makes them look even worse to other players, potential free agents down the road, potential draftees. You know, guys played at that level for so long, and they've done nothing to help them. They've actually went backwards. They just had really their worst season in the last 25 years, in my opinion. And they're going to dig in. What have they done to dig in? I mean, this front office to have the gall to say we're going to dig in against this guy, it just shows how incompetent, how arrogant they are. That's the key word. They are so arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what have they done to earn the right to do that? To say that, hey, we're right on this. And you know what? We don't care that you played 8 seasons. We know you're in the back half of your career. I mean, what could they be laying out there and that ensures this guy's going to get a Super Bowl in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I agree. And that's what I said earlier in my opening monologue when I was going off on a rant. I had to calm down from that rant because it's aggravating because they're shitting on the fans. They don't care. You know, clearly they don't care. They shit on their fans. They shit on their own players. And the fans got to lose another star player. He and the fan base got attached to each other. And it was a perfect marriage. He fit the city perfectly, too. I mean, you can't think of a better franchise player for Cleveland than Myles Garrett. You really can't. Quiet. You know what I mean? A little different in terms of like he has his own style. He's not like flamboyant or anything. And loves the community, is invested in the community. And now he's going to leave because of them. And it's like I said, their arrogance. They think we're stupid. They think they sit up there and talk like they know what they're doing. And they've solved football and Paulie Podesta and all these idiots. And well, I should say idiots, but I mean, they look bad today. I'll just say that. But forgive me. But I mean, it is. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's bad. They look like they act like they're smarter than everybody else, and you got people in the media that won't call out Paulie Podesta, and won't call out what the real problem is, and then want to sit up there today and talk about, oh, it's a rebuild in the making in 2 to 3 years, and let's take Abdul Carter, a replacement DN, and let's get a quarterback next year. But it's not going to matter because you know what I know, Jersey. It's the same cycle.
Well, that's exactly what it is. But, you know, they've already tried this. And now they want to start over again. They want to go to another rebuild again. And we're supposed to trust this front office. I mean, I'm a fan. I got nothing vested in this other than my cable subscription and the apparel I buy. But this guy's got his career invested in these goons. And I don't blame the guy for wanting to get out. I don't know. You might see even more guys request trades now. I mean, he's a pretty powerful dude. He's a guys kind of. It seems like guys seem to follow him. You never know. I mean, but I can tell you this: they're never ever going to win that battle against a player of that caliber with the team he has behind him in clutch sports. They're never going to win, and it just shows how foolish they are, how arrogant they are, and you know, let's just face it: all they really care about is a stadium. Trying to get the stadium built. It's just an absolute shame. Like I said, I would have been stunned if he didn't request the trade. And truthfully, I'm looking forward to him getting out of here. You know, these guys don't deserve. They just don't deserve high caliber players like this. The city does, fans do. This front office doesn't. I mean, it's just mind blowing. Everything they do just leaves me baffled. Yeah, you got Mike Vrabel in your office. You could. He's gone. Now I don't know. Maybe obviously played in New England, heavy ties in New England. Maybe that's where he's going to go the whole time. I don't know, but I wouldn't. You know, I'm sure, he's just a masculine old football guy that don't know a whole lot about analytics, so we're going to get him out of here. So it's just
Yeah. No, I agree.
Get these guys the hell out of this city. I got 3 guys I know they're season ticket holders. I got one guy, I think he's been a season ticket holder 30-something years. He just canceled his. One of my guys who works in the building with me. I got a guy sitting next to me right now, canceled his tickets. Austin, I know him, canceled his tickets. I'd love to know how many people are canceling the tickets.
That's what I keep hearing. I hear a lot of people, longtime fans, and you've been around. Obviously, you've been a Browns fan your whole life. You saw them in the '80s and the '90s, and when they moved and came back, and this weird attachment too that fans have sometimes. I think almost blindly because we had the team taken from us. That we just kind of go along with this, and that's why. And I apologize. I don't mean to call them idiots. I shouldn't say that. I apologize, but I only say that because I think they think we're idiots. That we just go along with this stuff, and then here we are today. We're losing Myles Garrett, and we're in the worst place we've been since we came back in '99. There's no real plan. It seems like because Myles asked for a plan, and they sat down, and clearly wasn't good enough because he's leaving. They didn't convince him. They didn't do a good enough job, and then we're also in the hole of the $230 million contract too with somebody that's not going to be playing for you for 2 years. I mean, I don't get it. I don't know.
The principle of it is the principle of it is worse than anything. It's how are we at this point where a Hall of Famer that we drafted, by the way, that they didn't draft, is requesting a trade. It just shouldn't be happening. It just shouldn't be happening. It just shows how terrible of a job they've done, what their players feel like, and I guarantee you this. It's the whole locker room. If he's saying that, the whole locker room feels the same way. I'm certain. So it just shouldn't be happening. So I mean, it's just they gotta get these guys the hell out of here. Everybody talks about players and drafting, and it's not. I don't care. None of it matters. I don't care if if they told us we knew. I don't care if they told me they were bringing Tom Brady back when he was 25 years old back into the Browns. They'd still screw it up. I don't care what players they bring in until that front office is gone. This is what we're going to get every year. I'm just sick of it. I'd rather just move the damn team. I'm tired of it. I'll put it to you this way: if Dee Podesta or Andrew Berry called me and said, "Hey, I will pay you $5,000 to walk to the end of your driveway and watch us play a game," I'd tell them to get the hell out of here. I wouldn't. You couldn't pay me to go to the end of my driveway to watch him play a football game. Terrible.
Yeah. I mean, people won't even reach for the remotes and turn them on when they're sitting there on a cold Sunday. Because it ain't worth it. You know what their end result's going to be, and they don't care either. They don't care.
It's embarrassment. They don't even look like a professional football team out there. It's just a horribly run organization. I don't blame the players one bit. I've said that numerous times. I blame that front office. Blame the ownership. Blame the front office. Too bad for these players. People say, well, they're getting paid millions of dollars. Okay, they can get paid anywhere they want. It's just here.
You want to succeed. You don't want to be known as a player that played in a bad place.
Right. And here, if you're a good player or / good employee, you deserve to be put in the best situation and a great organization. And Browns just haven't done that. They have not done that. I don't know if it's just not in ownership. I have no idea, but it's like you said earlier that there have been so many bad breakups with players. It's just at some point, no one's going to want to come here. No one's even going to want to get drafted. Would you?
Hell no, I wouldn't want to come here. And I'm from here, and it'd be my dream to play here. But if I want to succeed as a player, it ain't going to happen here. It's like I said earlier, too. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said earlier, too, when I had my landscaping company. If I try to plant a grass seed in bad soil, it wouldn't grow. So what I had to do, I had to prep the soil for months until the fall when we aerated and overseeded it.
right? Get the seed, put the applications in there, the Milorganite, the Milo, get it all watered in. Make sure the soil is solid and soft, right? So by the time I core aerate and overseed, it grows in properly. Everybody's sitting there talking about we should go. We'll just. I heard people. Jersey. I heard people in the local media saying, "Well, we'll just go get Abdul Carter. Like he's some replacement for Myles Garrett. Great player, great prospect, but he's not a guarantee. If he's Myles Garrett, he'd be going number 1 to Tennessee. Myles Garrett was a guarantee.
He's not a guarantee, and you paid this guy millions and millions and millions of dollars, and it didn't work out. It's a loss. You can't keep turning players. Hey, let me get this Hall of Famer out of here that's in the middle of his career, so I can draft this guy that we're projecting is going to be a great player. That's just a foolish mentality, and anybody who goes with that and agrees with that is a fool. So,
yeah, I guess too. Somebody put in the comments, according to Nathan Zagura on Browns Daily, he works for the Browns and on Browns Daily in the building. He said that the Browns knew about this for weeks. This is allegedly Parham said it. The Browns knew about this for weeks. Maybe that's why Barry was saying they're not trading Myles last week. So it sounds like they've known about this, which I think that letter was written for weeks. You know how that works. That's like a weeks in advance building that letter up, and it's a process that they do with him and whoever. I guess Ian Rappaport is who he worked with, and so, or maybe he got pissed all of a sudden. I mean, for Andrew Berry to come out and say that though, that our goal is for him to go from Cleveland to Canton, and for him to take a shot at Andrew Berry, the letter like that. And then for them to say that now they're saying we've known this for weeks and we're not trading them. I mean, I don't see how this is good for you in the draft coming up. I don't see how this is good for you with free agency. I don't see how, like you said, guys in the locker room. I remember Myles said in that his initial press conference when he mentioned that he might do this when Mary Kay asked him, he said other guys in the locker room feel the same way he does. If I'm not mistaken, he said that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And for them to say, oh, what is he supposed to be happy that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame? Is he supposed to be happy with that? He did that all on his own.
He knows he's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
But did they say that like, hey, you should be happy you're going to be a Hall of Famer?
Right. Mediocrity is
a Super Bowl.
Right. Mediocrity is a new excellence.
Yeah. Who wants to be sitting with all your peers in yellow jackets and they all got their rings on and you don't? I don't want to be that guy.
He only got a divisional playoff win or division title.
Right.
And it's not his fault.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, appreciate you calling in, Jersey. I got miss some other callers. Hope they're calling in. So thanks for calling in. We'll see you on the show soon.
All right.
Bye. Yeah, Gergs is nailing it right now, too. I mean, this move isn't about a contract. It's about your star player not believing the organization. If he's fed up, I'm sure players will follow. Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm going to pull that up, too. I think Myles even said that when his initial press conference. And I'm a lot calmer now, guys. You see, I settled down. When I first came on here, guys, an hour and a half ago, I was pretty pissed off because it's like I said, and I apologize. I don't mean to take personal. This isn't personal, but with Paulie Podesta or Haslam or anybody in the front, Andrew Berry. This is just me giving my observation. And like I said, I think they think we as fans and maybe people in the media are dumb. And like they think like we're idiots when they're the ones that are making the bad decisions and they're the ones that are putting themselves in this position where you're losing Myles Garrett now. Or Myles Garrett doesn't believe in you. And so, I mean, it's like, when do they ever get it? It's like they don't care. How does Jimmy keep being so inept? Just sell the team. You don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Jimmy Haslam. If you don't know, if you can't get this right, I mean, at some point, just let it go, dude. Don't waste a community and a state's time. We don't care. Remember that, but and this is what they keep doing. This is why I think they think we're dumb too. You notice what they do to distract you? It's like a lot of things in the world when they want to distract you from what's really going on. They keep putting things in your face. Oh, look at this stadium. You notice every day when you go on the Browns Twitter feed or every now and then in the news on Channel 3 or Fox 8 with the I-Team reports, you keep seeing all this news, the stadium. And they keep putting the images of the stadium in your face. They keep putting it in your face, right? They want you to see the stadium, right? That's all they want. We want you to look at the stadium. Look at the stadium we got coming up. But what about the team? What about why we're going to the stadium? What about why we're going to pay the astronomical prices that got leaked out for the new stadium for season tickets? Why should I pay that? Why should I go sit my ass for 3 hours and watch this product? At the end of the day, fans in Cleveland, they don't care about. We want a stadium, yeah, it's great. We want to win first. We want a team that's a real team that can compete each and every year, not a flash in the pan like we've had those couple of years, like last year in 2023. It was just a flash in the pan, not a flash in a pan. Because and obviously that you blew that up. You fired Alex Van Pelt for no reason, right? I mean, and that's another clip. Remember, Albert Breer brought that up. We don't want a flash in the pan. We want a team that can compete to win. So what they keep doing is they keep putting this little stadium in your face like this. Like, yeah, look at that. Don't worry about the team being 3-13. Don't worry about Myles Garrett over here requesting a trade. Don't worry about us not having a real plan. Don't worry about us, looking like a disaster in the organization. The salary cap's messed up, and we got Deshaun Watson still on the roster, not playing for you anymore, but we're going to pay him all this money. No, don't look at all that stuff that really matters. Just look at the stadium. Don't look at this. Look at the stadium. And they go like this, right? And then they hope this goes away when it never does. That's all they care about right now. And Myles Garrett said, get that out of here. This is a problem. I'm going to make you address this. And if you don't give me a good answer, I'm gone. And without Myles Garrett, listen, Abdul Carter's a nice prospect, but he ain't Myles Garrett coming out. All right. And maybe he can, and I'm not saying we don't know what he's going to be, though. We don't know what he's going to be. Kirk said, but Joe, they won a playoff game 3 years ago. Come on, dude. Yeah, they beat an old glue factory Steelers team. Now, here, I'm not complaining that we won. It was a great night. We won. We beat the Steelers. But then they go up against the Chiefs, Gergs. Remember that game? You're in the game. Mahomes gets hurt, and you let Chad Henne run up the field 13 yards. Chad Henne. I remember Dustin Fox was on the Fan. Shout out to Dustin Fox. Was on the Fan the next day with Bull and Fox, and they interviewed Stefanski about it. And he even asked Stefanski. He was like, I played against Chad Henne in college. Like, that's all. Like, and you let Chad Henne scramble for 13 yards, and you lost to the Chiefs when you had, a perfect opportunity to steal that game. And then they come back. What happens the next year? The whole Baker fiasco, disaster. Odell leaves, another disgruntled player leaves the organization, requests a trade, and then Baker Mayfield, that whole thing ends in the absolute dumpster fire. And then we followed up. Let's go get Deshaun Watson with all the allegations and $230 million guaranteed. Did I have a problem with him going all in on a quarterback? No. But they knew more than I knew at the time. I was just a kid, 22 years old, but they knew more than all of us about Deshaun Watson behind the scenes, and they still gave the guy $230 million. And Stefanski and Barry, just great coach in front office, has a star player wanting to bounce. How good are they? And I pin this more on Barry, DePodesta, and ownership. Stefanski's involved, and I think Stefanski, at the end of the day, if Barry goes, Stefanski's probably going down with him because they are together. But I think I'm pinning this more on the guys who are in charge, Barry, DePodesta, and ownership. Because if you remember, there was a report that came out when at the end of that 2021 season that the Browns were all in on Baker Mayfield, that they didn't want to get rid of him. And that Kevin Stefanski said at the end of 2021 he felt he could win with Baker Mayfield. But what changed? And I don't think he was in control of that. And I think Kevin Stefanski to me is just a good seed in bad soil. Like my analogy earlier, he's a good seed in bad soil. And can he be a lot better in a lot of ways? Absolutely. He needs to be better in some game management stuff. But he should have the margin to grow as a coach, but he doesn't. And it's not his fault. It's because of the situation he's in. And they'll dump him off next. I think Kevin Stefanski he's the next one on the chopping block. Myles Garrett, he's out of the door. He left voluntarily. I think Kevin Stefanski's be the next one they'll take a dump on. And it's at the end, it's because the guy who's outlasted everybody is this guy right here. He's outlasted John Dorsey. He's outlasted all the coaches they've had. He's outlasted Baker Mayfield. He's outlasted now Myles Garrett now. He's outlasted everybody. This guy right here has outlasted everybody for almost 10 years now. And so eventually, you know, and Andrew Berry, I played earlier why Andrew Berry really got the job. It was between him or George Payton. You see what George Payton's doing now in Denver and what he's got going on there with Bo Nix and with Sean Payton. They look like they're going in the right direction. Like a nice team on the right, made the playoffs this year, right? They had the right soil to take a Bo Nix and develop him, which is what we should be doing this offseason, really. That should be our model for where we are with the cap and everything. But we're not going to do it because our soil is absolute just shit. Really. It's dog shit. Because it don't work. It's a failure. And we're going to keep running this same cycle. I don't get it. And I think I have that too. This is what every fan should be concerned about right now. Outside of the Myles Garrett trade request, obviously, that's a big deal. Every fan should be concerned about this right here. And I'm going to pull it up. This was Paul DePodesta, or not Paul DePodesta. This was Jimmy Haslam, excuse me, before the season, talking about Paul DePodesta's potential contract extension. And actually, I didn't know this. Oh, so there was some more news that came out today in a report. I'm going to get to this in a second. I find this interesting today. I don't know if you got, I didn't see this, guys. I got some more breaking news today as well. I'm going to put out here. This is a loaded show. I mean, we got so much news flying off the shelf. But I'm going to go to my main point first. I'll get to the, I don't know if you guys saw this report today. I didn't know this came out, but I just saw it. I'm glad I Googled this. This is, and call into the show, guys, too. We've already had 3 callers call in, some great calls. 216-532-5550. Again, 216-532-5550. Call into the show right now and give your take on all this. But this is what Jimmy Haslam said before the season. I'm talking about Paul DePodesta's potential extension because his contract's up, I believe, after next season. And they asked him about it. It says right here. This is what I think this is what every fan should be concerned about more than the Myles Garrett, because this is what's caused the Myles Garrett thing. And as you can see there, it says, my computer's kind of freezing a little bit. It says Paul is not talk about Paul DePodesta and they extended him and stuff. And he said, we're working through the situation with Paul. It is a little bit different because he lives in San Diego, but we're comfortable with Paul, and we're comfortable Paul will remain with us in some very important fashion for the long term. So again, he says there, very important fashion for the long term. And then he tells you too, the guy lives in San Diego. You're going to pay a guy to have a big important role in your organization. That number one, he's not in the building every day. So I don't know how that's a functional situation. I'm sorry, if you're paying somebody to have a big role and they're not in the building every day, in person, getting to know your guys and working and feeling things out, it's a joke. It's everything Steve Young said when they hired this guy. And that's why I played that clip earlier. What does this guy know about relationships in the locker room? What does this guy know about football? What does this guy know about hiring a smart football guy? None. He's completely hoodwinked this ownership. And this is the result of it. You're losing Myles Garrett because of this. And for Jimmy Haslam to sit up there before the season and say, and act like just the arrogance, like Jersey said, like Paul's just some savant. Like we're working through the situation. Like I said, we're working through the situation. It's a little bit different because he lives in San Diego, but we're comfortable with Paul. Will remain with us in some very important passion for the long term. Like he's just like we gotta have this guy. We can't lose him. The hell with Myles Garrett. The hell with Myles Garrett. And then today, I just saw this. This is unbelievable. And I got to read this report before I put it up here. I don't know if you guys saw this. I Googled Paul DePodesta and the Browns, trying to bring up that report from what Jimmy said back before the season. This is from today. And it's the same day Myles Garrett requests a trade. This is from Tony Grossi. And it says, DePodesta's greatest contribution was, quote, marrying head coach Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, which I showed that earlier. It fulfilled Jimmy Haslam's direction to have peace and harmony between head coach and GM. To his credit, DePodesta also recommended Sean McDermott as a coaching candidate instead of Freddie Kitchens. Okay. Allegedly. On the other hand, he advocated for Mitch Trubisky over Myles Garrett with the number 1 overall pick in 2017. Wow. Right here. Came out today. The same day. So I don't know if there's somebody in the organization that Grossi got this from somebody. I don't know who. You see this right here. This came out today from Grossi, who I know some people have mixed feelings about Tony Grossi. I have no personal vendetta for Tony Grossi. I don't really know him. I think he's been right on actually a lot of stuff with this. And I've showed that on the show. You know, his report about, remember the whole air raid offense and all that they wanted, and all that stuff he exposed 2 years ago. And that if Kevin Stefanski goes against basically Paul DePodesta, it'd be his quickest ticket out of town. This is today from Tony Grossi. This is a report that DePodesta's greatest, again, quote, DePodesta's greatest contribution was marrying head coach Kevin Stefanski and GM Andrew Berry. It fulfilled Jimmy Haslam's directive to have peace and harmony between GM and head coach. To his credit, DePodesta also recommended Sean McDermott as a coaching candidate instead of Freddie Kitchens, allegedly. I don't know how much I buy in that. But on the other hand, he advocated quarterback Mitch Trubisky over Myles Garrett with the number 1 overall pick in 2017. The same day that this stuff goes down, Myles Garrett, is the same day this comes out. Why? I'm really curious by that. I'm really curious who leaked this out. Grossi got this from somewhere. And this is something somebody's known for a long time, maybe more than one people in the organization. I'm sure he can get Mitch Trubisky for Garrett at this point right now. Oh, gosh. He would say that. Oh, man, that'd be terrible. But, yeah, I no wonder why Myles Garrett wants to get the hell out. He wants the hell out of here. No wonder. I don't blame the guy. I really don't. And fans should be mad at Myles. I saw fans today say, well, he didn't want to be here. To hell with him. It's the same old, fucking Cleveland mentality. Now I'll say all Cleveland, because I think most Cleveland doesn't agree with that mentality. But this whole, you're either with us or against us. You're the same people, like I said earlier. They keep flashing that stadium in your face, right? But they're not. They're trying to hide all the bad things, the product on the field, right? What we care about the most, trying to win games. They're trying to disguise you from. They don't want you to see all the dysfunction and all the things and why Myles Garrett really wants out. And you watch, like Jersey said, they're going to mess around and find out. These guys think they're so savant and they're so savvy and arrogant. Play around with Rich Paul if you want to. You think you're more powerful than Rich Paul in clutch sports and LeBron James, who Myles Garrett's with? Good luck. Good luck. You think you're going to manipulate the media? Please. Please, they will run your ass right into the ground. They will humiliate you. They will do anything they got to do. Whatever dirt they got, it's coming out. I mean, you think you're going to outlast Myles Garrett, Cleveland Browns? You think you're going to sit up there and tell him what to do, like Jersey said? Please, this guy is laughing his ass off right now. Him and the clutch sports, they are ready for this. They've been planning this for a while. And it's like Jason Lloyd, and shout out to Jason Lloyd and Garrett Bush today. I heard when this went live and breaking news on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Allegedly, according to Jason Lloyd, Myles Garrett approached him 2 years ago, and he was going to do a similar thing 2 years ago. And it was going to be Jason Lloyd was the one who was going to help write it, why Myles had concerns about the organization, why he may want out. This was 2 years ago. And so when Garrett Bush, I kept telling people this on the show too, and even argued with people privately about this. When Garrett Bush and other people and the media that had some know about this and the behind the scenes, and there's been a lot of rumors about this behind the scenes, that Myles would want out eventually if things went south. It came from him. It was from this has been in motion for a while, and it just came to fruition today. And for this report to come out today too from Tony Grossi, to me, I think it came out today. I'm assuming it's in the news today, and so. To say that Paul DePodesta wanted Mitch Trubisky over Myles Garrett. And so I wonder, I've been saying this for a while. I think there's a major power struggle going on within the Browns organization. here's what's interesting about all this, guys. I bring up Clutch Sports, and I was actually going to say, I had a video I was planning on doing for a while. I was going to drop at a certain point, but I guess now's the time to do it. So I want to share with you guys the information about some stuff I found just through the internet, right? If we do this, here, I'll do it with you guys. If we do this, go to Google, right? Let's go to Google, and let's type in Browns front office, right? Browns front office. Okay. So we type in Browns front office. Let me get this on the screen here for you guys. So you guys can see what I discovered, why I think Myles has been in a power struggle behind the scenes with probably Paul DePodesta, like a lot of people here, like John Dorsey was. This is just me assuming. This is just all speculation from my point. But I found this interesting when I did some research, right? So if I go to Browns front office, okay. So here we are. We're on the Browns website. Yay, look at us. What a great time to be a Browns fan. Not. And we scroll down. Okay. Here's management, right? Okay. We got all these names here. Let's go to football operations, shall we? You see that name right there? Tyler Hamlin, Director of Football Operations. Okay. So let me Google now. What does the Director of Football Operations do in the NFL? Okay. The duties and responsibility of a director of football operations may vary from a specific organization, but common task responsibility may include, quote, number one, overseeing player personnel, managing the team facilities, working with the front office. Okay, working with the front office. It says, the director of football operations may work closely with the team's front office to ensure the team's financial stability and to develop and implement strategies to increase revenue. Overseeing player personnel. This may involve managing the team's roster, scouting, recruiting new players, negotiating contracts, and managing the team's salary. Okay. And he does like coordinating teams travel, overseeing the team's coaching staff, handling media relations, managing the team's budget. Okay. Why do I bring up Tyler Hamlin? Right? He's the director of football operations for the Browns. Well, here's what Tyler Hamlin, right? If I go to his Twitter page here, give me a second. I'm doing this on the fly, guys. If I go to Tyler Hamlin's Twitter page, right? Mr. Hamlin is married to somebody who works with Clutch Sports. Oh. Let me pull her name up. Right? Give me 1 second. I got to find these people's Twitter pages, guys. Give me 1 second. So remember, Tyler Hamlin is director of football operations for the Browns, right? We established that. And we also just established, okay, what does the director of football operations do? You're right here. This is what they do. They manage the team's facilities, they oversee player personnel, right? They do all that good stuff, right? And so, and I had this queued up too for my show, and I should have, but I didn't expect to show this today, guys, because it's breaking news. But now it's time to do it. Give me 1 second. So again, let me get her name. So again, Tyler Hamlin's wife works for Clutch Sports. What's Clutch Sports? Myles Garrett's agency. So I'm really curious. This power struggle that's been going on behind the scenes. Obviously, Myles' agency consulted him to do this, to request a trade. And then this report comes out from Tony Grossi about basically throwing DePodesta under the bus, saying he wanted Mitch Trubisky over Myles Garrett. Somebody has that information. And I'm not saying it's Tyler Hamlin, but I'm just saying, I've been saying for a while, I think there is a real power struggle going on in the Browns organization. And I got it right here. Okay, now I found the Twitter page. Excuse me, guys. His wife's name is Vanessa Hutchinson Hamlin. And she is the football coaches and executives director for Clutch Sports. Yeah, senior director of football coaches and executives for Clutch Sports. This is the president of football operations for the Browns. This is his wife. Okay. I'm just doing a little investigation today on the fly for you guys right here. That's her right there. Clutch Sports Group. That's her. That's his wife. He even retweeted it. You can see right there. Ty Hamlin reposted. Okay. And so Myles Garrett has people that are connected to agency. Okay, I'm back. So Myles Garrett has people in the organization that's connected to his agency. And so I see this report today again from Tony Grossi talking about that Paulie Podesta wanted Mitch Trubisky over Myles Garrett, and back in 2017. That came from somewhere, in my opinion. That's something somebody's had for a while, and it's coming out today on the same day Myles requested trade. Something's going on here. I think there's a power struggle going on. Something is not adding up. And so I'm curious what you guys think about all this. I mean, this is a wild this is going to be a wild time in Cleveland. And then for the Browns to come out immediately and say, we're not going to go through with his trade request. I mean, you got people in your organization, like I just showed, that are really connected to his agency. So this is, if you guys get what I'm saying, you put the picture together, you're kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Is somebody trying to push somebody out again, like they did to John Dorsey? Is that what's going on here? I'm telling you, I think there is a major philosophical power struggle going on in that organization. I really do. And you remember why did they fire Alex Van Pelt after that great season you had with Joe Flacco and all the quarterbacks, right? And you fired the man for no reason. After he just made it, he was the offensive coordinator for all. You just made the playoffs with Joe Flacco, PJ Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and all these guys. Deshaun Watts for 6 games. You had all these different quarterbacks. You made the playoffs. The offensive. Remember the O-line? They went to like the 4th-string tackle that year, and you fired the guy. Why? And you remember what Albert Breer said, and it kind of all goes together. See, I'm trying to paint the picture for you guys of what's really going on here, and why I think Myles had to put the hammer down today. And so here it is again. I'm gonna play it again in case you don't remember. And I know I played on the show at nauseum, and I'm gonna keep playing it because what Albert Breer said clearly has come true. And I'm curious where Kevin Stefanski is in all this right now, right? And so he said, "Does Myles Garrett have a no trade clause in his contract?" No, he doesn't. Thank you, Parent John. Yeah, shout out to you, Parent John. Shout out to you for tuning in. Appreciate you, brother. Wherever you appreciate you for tuning in. But here's again, I played this ad nauseum on the show. Why did they fire Alex Van Pelt? Well, here's what Albert Breer said about it at the time.
Here, but I think there's the one key here that people will miss if they don't know it, right? So in Cleveland, the reason he was let go in Cleveland was because ownership and Paul DePodesta, not Kevin Stefanski, ownership and Paul DePodesta were frustrated with the progress Deshaun Watson had made. I don't think that they really, truly, the people who made that decision really, truly knew his value to that staff. And other people on that staff, not so much Kevin, but people below him were floored when they fired him for 2 reasons. Number one, how do you fire the offensive coordinator after you just won 11 games with 4 different quarterbacks, with your 4th and 5th tackles, without Nick Chubb,
including at least 2 or 3 of those guys that nobody's ever heard of, right? I mean, you're talking about Jeff Driscoll, PJ Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Like, those are some of the guys he was working with.
So you just went through that, right? I mean, Zoe, how often do you see teams survive losing 1 tackle, let alone 3? They lost their first 3 tackles for the year.
Yeah, usually don't. I mean, look at the New England Patriots this year. You really had no tackles.
There's no tackle depth. There's no tackle depth across the league, period.
Yeah.
And he was able to help build an offense that was able to sustain with Joe Flacco coming off the couch, with their 4th and 5th tackles, without Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt coming back in. So there's that. Like, that I think is one reason why people there were floored that he got fired. The other one I think is the real key, though. He was the glue of that staff. Kevin, if you know him, he's a great guy. He's not the most outgoing guy. He's just sort of like his personality is very dry. He's got a good sense of humor, but he's not like this outwardly gregarious guy. Alex was the one that held that staff together. when guys were coming out, when guys were going in. He is a guy who was a unifying force in that building. And after the year, the Patriots just came.
So again, he was the unifying force. He was the guy that holds the glue of that staff. But because Paulie Podesta, who he mentioned Jimmy Haslam there as well, and I say Paulie Podesta was first because Paulie Podesta is the one that probably convinced Jimmy Haslam to do it. Like he has a lot of things. Because Paulie Podesta wanted him gone. Because he was probably the one that orchestrated a lot of Deshaun Watson stuff too. Because remember, there was the report too that it's funny, all this stuff's coming out now after the season. It's almost like a lot of people are covering their asses, right? And it's like the Andrew Berry report came out that Andrew Berry, he got to a point with Deshaun Watson. He liked Deshaun Watson, but he got to a point in that negotiation that week where he thought it was too far. He thought it was too much, but Jimmy Haslam said, no, do it. Because Jimmy Haslam and really Paulie Podesta, San Diego, wanted it done. And so you're seeing that report too, and you're seeing all this. You're seeing a lot of people covering their asses. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was him. It was him. It was him. And then you see this report today too from that came out the same day this trade request comes out from Tony Grossi that says, let me pull it up here again, that Paulie Podesta urged the Browns, it says, to pass on Myles Garrett in 2017 because he wanted Mitch Trubisky. And so, again, that's what I opened up my show with today. Who's the real problem? Who's the real reason why Myles Garrett's asking out of Cleveland? Right? And we could talk about Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski all day. But at the end of the day, Andrew Berry is just a puppet on a string to me that just does what he's told. That's why he got the job, which I played earlier in the show from Charles Robinson. He got hired over George Payton, who's killing it with the Broncos right now, the GM of the Broncos, who's helped orchestrate their rebuild and where they are, because he was in the good graces of Paulie Podesta. And again, we can trade Myles and get all these assets and draft picks and stockpile picks again, which we've done for years. When we first started when we hired these guys, we did this Operation Stockpile, right? Remember that? And we can, let's draft Abdul Carter, and let's take a rookie. Let's bet on a rookie. And let's go take another rookie quarterback again. And we're going to keep putting them in this shit soil. And it's going to be the same cycle. It's going to be the same result. And Abdul Carter may pan out to be somebody good. But do you know what's going to happen at the end of the day? He'll ask out and leave eventually too. That quarterback you got over there, probably going to end up like Baker Mayfield. Because the way you operate, you're from a football operational standpoint, behind the scenes with negotiations, with player personnel, player relations, how you communicate, it's all flawed because it's all based around one guy's philosophy, and that's Paulie Podesta's Moneyball philosophy. And he's the reason Myles Garrett is out of town today. Period. End of story. And they're all honestly just him. Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Berry, those three in particular, and maybe Kevin Stefanski, you can throw him in there. I haven't mentioned Kevin a lot today because I don't know how much I can blame Kevin for any of this, if any, because I really think Kevin has gotten screwed a little bit. And that's why I backed off of Kevin as the years went on. Yes, I can criticize him in his coaching and stuff, but in terms of what the real problem is organizationally, I can't put it all on Kevin. And it goes back to this. If I could pull up the report that Tony Grossi put out 2 years ago that went viral. Remember this, where it said that, Paulie Podesta is pretty much convinced owner Jimmy Haslam that the only way to build a Super Bowl team is consistently throwing for explosive plays in the passing game. Apparently, no matter the weather conditions, Stefanski and offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt will insist that their system is rooted in the running game. So remember, we just heard Albert Beer say about Alex Van Pelt. Stay with me here. They insist that their system is rooted in the running game, but that is true only to the extent that the Browns desire an effective running game, essentially to set up a play action passing game. Eventually, they want those play-action passes to be more frequently laden with deep shots down the field, and that is where Deshaun Watson comes in. The bottom line is, Stefanski's job is safe because he is completely adhering to Deep Podesta's advanced statistics or analytics models and not resisting them. Disagreeing with or rejecting Deep Podesta's research will be Stefanski's quickest ticket out of town. And this was from I think back in December of 2022 when Tony Grossi wrote this report, and people laughed at it. There was people in the media laughing at it, saying, "Oh, no big deal." And now here's the excuse we always get, the bullshit excuse. We don't know what he does. That's bullshit. We know exactly what he does. And I've showed that on a show. They've said out of their mouths how much of a role he has. The owner came out before the season, what I just showed earlier, it said that he has a very important role in the organization. And we want to re-sign him and keep him around for the long run. So that's bullshit, number one. So stop with the excuses and quit being a pansy and start telling the truth. And number two, going along to get along. Shout out to Connie Brown. Go along, get along game. We got a lot of that here going on with this stuff. But also number two, nobody could do their job because this guy runs everything. I mean, and then they extended Paul. Was it Stefanski got extended last offseason? And remember, nobody knows what his extension was, what the number was, anything. The last time they did that to a coach too was Hugh Jackson. He got fired eventually because Hugh Jackson, yeah, he could have been a lot better as a coach, but what Hugh Jackson said about Cleveland when he left Cleveland in that report, which I showed in that show recently, a lot of that came true. Just saying. And we trashed Hugh Jackson. A lot of people, well, I don't say we, but a lot of people trashed Hugh Jackson for a long time because he was the 0-16 coach, the 1-15 coach. But Hugh Jackson, a lot of what he said back then about if you put Baker Mayfield in the right organization, the right situation, he'll flourish. Well, he is, but it's not happening here. It's happening in an organization that's the least analytical team in the league in the Buccaneers, according to ESPN report. Go look it up. And oh, by the way, Hugh Jackson also said too that, he wanted a quarterback and that basically a lot of what Hugh Jackson said was he didn't have the full autonomy to do what he wanted to do. He couldn't run the offense he wanted. It was all what DePodesta wanted. And the same thing happened to John Dorsey. The same thing happened to Baker Mayfield. The same thing happened to a lot of other people. Now it's happening to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is now being picked. That's why I brought that up today, just a couple minutes ago. Myles Garrett has people in his agency, Clutch Sports, heavily involved in the Browns organization. And the ownership is choosing Paul DePodesta's model and vision over Myles Garrett. Let that sink in. And they think we're stupid. And they want to keep flashing this stadium in front of you. Don't worry about all this other crap that, don't worry about winning games and what the real dysfunction going on. Myles blowing out town. And watch how the media, watch how people, I don't say the whole media, there's some good media members that try to tell the truth, that do tell the truth. But I'm just, you know what I'm talking about. I don't got to say it out loud. But watch the over hype of Abdul Carter. And I'm not saying he don't deserve the hype. He's a hell of a prospect. Great player. Should go top 5. But watch how this guy's going to be put on a pedestal like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Your people say he's just as good as a prospect as Myles Garrett. Watch. When Myles Garrett came out, remember, Myles Garrett was unanimous number 1 pick. Unanimous. Abdul Carter's not a unanimous number 1 pick. Some people say Travis Hunter is. And if I had to pick, I'd say Travis Hunter is more like Myles Garrett as a for-sure thing than Abdul Carter. But watch how they're going to pump up Abdul Carter so you forget about Myles Garrett. And it's no big deal. And it's the same cycle. It's going to give you the same result. And Abdul Carter, if he pans out to be who people think he can be, he'll request a trade one day too. Guarantee it. Mark this down. February 3rd, 2025. If the Browns trade Myles Garrett and we draft Abdul Carter and Abdul Carter comes in and it turns out to be a next Pro Bowl, maybe franchise cornerstone, one day he will do the same thing Myles Garrett is doing. Watch. And so until they fix the soil, expect the same result. And so, woo! Man, what a hell of an emergency podcast, that's for sure. But if you're new here, you like this content, like, subscribe, and share. This is how we do. We had great call-ins today. We had 4 or 5 people call into the show today, so that was awesome. Shout out to them. You want to call in and leave a voicemail and leave your take on this, I'll play the voicemail in the next live, so feel free to call in 216-532-5550. Again, 216-532-5550. Call in and leave your voicemail, give your take on the Browns, and I'll play it on the next show, or call in live too. I'll probably do call-ins again on the next live because this is gonna be an ongoing story for a while. Shout out to Parent John. Shout out to everybody in the chat today. Shout out to you. from Oregon. Go Bucks. Go Bucks. Shout out to you, brother. Go Bucks. I'm sure you're rubbing it out there to all those Oregon fans. And appreciate all you guys today. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here. I'm gone.